my name is Emma, and today I'm talking about Shadowhunters episode 9. To be honest, I don't really know what my thoughts are overall on this episode. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't great. A lot of big problems, still some improvements. I'm kind of like up in the air with like every episode for the past couple of weeks, which is kind of a good thing because at least I'm not totally shitting on it all the time anymore. So I feel like I don't have a lot of non-spoiler thoughts other than what I just told you, which was a whole big nothingness that made no sense. Basically, I kind of like the episode, kind of didn't. Don't really know how I feel about it. I'm just going to jump straight into the spoiler discussion because I feel like that's going to be the place where you guys get to really know my thoughts, of course. So my non-spoiler people. Okay, so from the start of this episode, Simon is a new vampire. While I was happy with the way his transformation went, with the way that they buried him and he rose last episode, I feel like his anger in this episode was extremely fake. I am normally such a fan of Alberto's acting, but I feel like in this episode, he was just super, like, not authentic and very out of character. I mean, he threw Raphael across a freaking bus. Like, dude, I get you're mad because you're a vampire, but, like, I don't know. It didn't feel very Simon whatsoever to me. Also, about the anger, that's a werewolf thing. Like, are we forgetting the whole thing about the whole Jordan and Maya plotline? Werewolves are the downworlder that have this built-in aggression to them that's super prominent when they're first turned. They never really touch on that on vampires, and it was just probably especially because it was Simon, who's just so, like, kind-hearted all the time. Seeing his anger and, like, just the way it was portrayed was, like, super not good to me. I don't like how Clary and Jace kissed in this episode either. Like, did the producers not know that, like, it's one kiss per book until City of Fallen Angels? Like, did they read them at all? Come on, the best part of the first 3 books were the Clary and Jace kiss scenes, because we knew one was coming and it was going to be epic, and now it's not epic. Well, it wasn't really epic to begin with, so of course they didn't really have a good foundation for that. But as soon as Jace touched her face so affectionately, I'm like, oh my god, no! Ugh, I don't like them together. Positive thing about this episode, though, is there were a lot of lines that I was actually really happy with and laughed at for, like, a good reason. The first one I picked up on is when Magnus is in the Institute and he's, like, super protecting the wards around it so that Valentine can't get in with his, like, weird forsaken zombie sealy blood angel blood beings. But Magnus is explaining how, like, there's limits to his magic and, like, it won't hold them off for forever, but it'll definitely set them back a bit. And then Robert is like, extra time is priceless, and then Magnus goes, say that after you get my bill. That was such a great Magnus line from Shadowhunters. I'm really, really happy with that. It was just so Magnus towards the Shadowhunters because he's always talking about how, like, they have to pay him and how expensive he is. I was just so happy with that. One thing I'm also really happy with in this episode is how Alec kind of defers his feelings towards Magnus in front of Magnus. It's when Alec is, like, healing and Magnus is like, oh, like, I can help you, like, I don't want anything to happen to you, and this is happening, like, in front of the Institute for everyone to see, and Alec is like, Magnus, I'm good. And he's just super standoffish towards him. I feel like that right there is the Malik we see for the first 3 books, where Alec is kind of feeling all of these things towards Magnus, but he knows that he can't, so he kind of pushes them away and therefore pushes Magnus away. And I thought that was really, really well done in the episode. They quickly mention, I think it was Isabel, talks about how Valentine has been draining downworlder blood for months. First of all, in the first episode, when we were exposed to all these mysterious murders that, guess what, aren't really mentioned in the rest of the season, they're mundanes. It's mundane blood. And then Magnus talks to the Circle member and is, like, talking about how their boss wants mundane blood. We do get that really quick scene in one of the episodes where Valentine has, like, the 2 dead Sealies, but I feel like that plot line wasn't really established enough for it to just be common knowledge that an 18-year-old at the Institute knows. It was kind of just, like, thrown in there, and, like, I wish we had more development of that, but it just, again, it was just kind of in there. Didn't really play a big part to the scene. Like, I don't know, I just wasn't happy with the way that they put that in there. Also, I was kind of hoping that this second season of Shadowhunters, if it does get renewed, would be mostly about that plot line with Valentine. They've taken the Simon plot line out, which is fine. And so I was kind of hoping that they would kind of move into more, like, the actual concrete book content after hearing what all of the fans say. And I was kind of hoping that season 2 would mostly be, like, Jace versus the Inquisitor and Valentine taking all the downworlder blood, but now it's introduced and it wasn't even introduced well. Kind of disappointed with that. Not kind of, I'm actually really disappointed with that. I also really like the line when Simon's home and his mama's hugging him, like, because she hasn't seen him in days, and she's like, I thought you were dead in a ditch. I see what you did there, Shadowhunters. That was clever. I enjoyed that. Why can't we have more of that? Honestly, Matt's acting is fucking fantastic. I am so happy that I love him now. I absolutely love Matthew Daddario, and I love him as Alec, and I'm so happy that I've had this change in character in the show for me. I'm really disappointed that I really hated him for like the first 5 episodes because the producers weren't allowing him to be this fantastic Alec, but I'm mostly happy that he's here now. I just really like the scene where Alec is talking to Robert and confronting him about being in the circle and never telling them, and how Alec is like, you made this mess, now I'm going to fix it on my terms. He's just absolutely fantastic. It's really funny because I used to say that I was only watching the show for Alberto Rosende, and in this episode I kinda didn't like him. And then in all the previous episodes, I was like, I fucking hate Matthew Daddario as Alec, but in this episode, I love him, and he's becoming part of the reason why I'm enjoying this show, and so I'm just really happy about that. You know, I said I really enjoyed a lot of the lines in this episode, but then we have this line, not picking sides, Jace Wayland to Switzerland. Not only was it a terrible line, I mean, third person, come on, really? But also it just kind of rolled out of him exactly how I said it. Like, it was very, like, breathless and kind of rushed out of him. Like, he didn't really put any emphasis on what he was saying. It could have been like a good joke, but it just wasn't as per usual. Going back to my dislike of Simon for this episode, I really didn't like Simon and Clary's interactions for the most part. I understand why Simon is mad. It makes sense because he feels that he's a monster, and I understand that aspect, and I kind of like it, but I don't like how mad he is at Clary in the books, and I just feel like this is how Simon Lewis as a character, regardless of what format he's portrayed in, would be, is that he would be very grateful for Clary, like, hey, thanks for saving my life. I think it makes sense to the story, and like when it first happened and he was really mad at her and ran away at the end of the episode, I was like, oh, this is a really interesting change, but the way it was portrayed in this episode, I'm just really not happy with it, and it felt super unnatural to their characters. Clary I'm fine with. I thought she handled the situation exactly the way that Clary in the books would have if this is how Simon's actual reaction was, but I thought that Alberto Rosende was very out of character in this episode, and that really upsets me because even though Simon is now a vampire, core parts of Simon Lewis are still there. He's still quirky and nerdy and caring and brave, and a lot of that just wasn't shown in this episode. It was like watching a completely different person for the most part. I just don't like how him being a vampire has already changed his character so much. I can only hope that they're going to go back to that later. But another great line is when Isabella's talking to Lydia and trying to convince her that like Meliorn is innocent and that he shouldn't be arrested or tortured or killed or anything. And Isabella's like, let me talk to him. And then Lydia is like, that wasn't exactly helpful in the past. Burn! Isabel Lightwood, do you need some ice for that burn? Shots fired. Another great line that I loved was from Clary when she's in that like cage thingy with Simon, and she's talking about how she's like, I thought I was a real shadow hunter, but when I'm with you, I'm just Clary Frey. Very, very accurate to Clary as a character and how she feels towards Simon. I'm really, really happy they included that. One thing I didn't like about the episode was how spiteful and jealous Magnus was when Alec told him that he was engaged to Lydia. Magnus is a very calm, cool, and collected character. He doesn't really show his emotions much unless he wants to, but the way that Harry reacted to it was just very unnatural and very un-Magnus-like. Like, a very important part about the rest of the series is that Alec is the jealous one and Magnus is like, look, like, other people, that's a thing, like, it happened, like, let's just be in the present now. But Alec is supposed to be the jealous one, which leads to so much shit at the end of the series, and now Magnus is being very jealous, and I really did not like that part. I wasn't feeling it whatsoever. You know, after Clary and Simon had reconciled, which I forgot to mention that before, I'm really glad that they started moving back into their normal friendshipiness. I liked after when Simon had drank the blood and fed already, and he was like, I don't want to bite you anymore. And Clary's like, that's good. I really chuckled at the part. Like, it was so simplistic, but it was funny to me. But you know, we get a not so good line from Clary that I'm really not happy with. So Clary says, I brought you back because I wanted us both to be different, and she's talking about how she didn't want Simon to be left back in the mundane world because she was in the shadow world, which I have the hugest problem with. Clary does not bring back Simon because she wants him to be involved in her world. She brought Simon back because she thought that she had no choice, because she didn't want him to die, because she cared for him so much. She just wanted him in her life, and that was the selfish portion of it, but for the most part, it was to benefit Simon, to keep him living, and to have him have the closest thing to a normal life he can have now that he's dead. She never wanted this for Simon, ever. She kicks herself in the ass every single book for the rest of the series because all she wanted was for Simon to have a normal life. She never wanted him to get involved in this, and now she's saying that she wanted him involved in it. It was just extremely selfish and not at all the reason why Clary brings Simon back, and I'm really, really upset by this. When Izzy and Jace meet up with Clary and all of the Downworlders, I loved Izzy's outfit when she's wearing like the sweetheart neckline with the zipper up and the leather jacket. I'm like, this is exactly what I imagined Izzy Lightwood wearing the entire time. Not the no shirts, not the long dresses. This is Isabel Lightwood. This is how I imagined her personally. That's what I always envisioned her wearing, and I'm so happy we finally have an Isabel outfit that I can be happy with. One thing I don't really understand about this world is why is there a Downworlder entrance to the City of Bones? That's not a place Downworlders will ever have any reason to go to. That's the Shadowhunters' holy place. That's where all of the Shadowhunters who have like been good Shadowhunters for all of their life, they live, they build on the City of Bones, like they're like the powerhouse of it because they have Shadowhunter blood, and that's like, you know, the reason the City of Bones is still standing. The only thing there is the Silent Brothers, who are the archivists. They're like the healers. You know, that's really all there is to it, and it's fully functional as a Shadowhunter only place. Downworlders have absolutely no business there, so why is there a Downworlder entrance? And now we get to my least favorite part of the whole episode, which again, as always, is in the last 10 minutes, and then I don't pay attention for the rest of the episode. So Alec and Jace are fighting. Like, not like verbally fighting like normal, like they're physically fighting. Why? Parabatai don't do this. Jace and Alec don't do this. They would never let their pent-up aggression and their feelings towards each other and their disagreements build up to that point. It would never escalate to that level, and I just don't understand why the writers thought that was okay. Also, Jace is aware of Alex's feelings for him. What? You know, we have a really significant line in the books. I don't remember exactly what book it was, but it was probably City of Glass, where they have that actual confrontation about it, and it's very calm, cool, and collected. And Jace just has this really great line where he's just talking about how you don't actually love me, you just like me because I'm safe, because you know I'll never love you back, and therefore you never have to get hurt. And so that line is really significant to me because I know a lot of people are like, Alec was in love with Jace. I don't truly believe that Alec was in love with Jace. I feel like Cassandra Clare included that little section to make it known that that's exactly why Alec felt like he had feelings towards Jace, and it wasn't actual love. That's just personally my opinion on the whole Alec and Jace feelings towards each other thing, and also why I just didn't like the fact that they included it there, because it was a really significant plot line later. And then like it gets worse, and I really didn't think it could get worse from this point, but Alec is basically on top of him and holding a Seraph blade to Jace's neck. This isn't a spoiler, but I'm going to talk about something that's discussed in City of Heavenly Fire. It's really not even a spoiler. We don't actually even see this unfold. It's just something that they're told. Basically, because of a situation that arises in City of Heavenly Fire that I'm not going to explain to you, a Shadowhunter is forced to kill his Parabatai, and therefore that Shadowhunter kills himself. And so I'm just thinking about the strength and the turmoil that that Shadowhunter had to go through to kill his Parabatai, to even think that this is what I have to do for what's better for my race and for the world. I just can't imagine what that person was feeling at the moment. And to have Alec nearly kill Jace just out of pure anger for like the temporary situation boggles my fucking mind. I say this every single time that Jace and Alec fight, because for once the only thing that's consistent in this show is that Alec and Jace don't have a normal Parabatai relationship. They argue, they disagree all the time, especially in City of Bones, but they would never fucking get physical, and one would never even get close to killing the other. Now, I think that might be one of the angriest moments I've had in all of these reviews, if that proves how upset that got me. And to end on a little bit of a lighter note after that rant, I did like the line that Jace delivers when he's just like, kill me, Alec, kill me, because I don't want to live if we're on different sides. I felt that that line was very consistent and true to their characters. There may be other Shadowhunters that would choose the law and the clave above one another, but I truly feel that Jace and Alec have such a deep connective relationship that all that matters is that they're together, and anything else around them is really irrelevant if they aren't on the same side. So while I didn't like that that line had to come about, I'm really happy with the way that that scene ended off. Not happy that they go on separate sides anyways, but whatever. That's really it for my discussion on episode 9 of Shadowhunters. I would love to know your thoughts as always. I'm super sorry that I'm really behind on these Shadowhunters episode discussions. You know, Lady Midnight came out, and then I was like, I'm talking way too much about Shadowhunters for people who don't watch Shadowhunters and don't like the Mortal Instrument, so I had to break things up a bit. But we're almost done. Only like 4 more episodes left, only 4 more discussions left, and I'm trying to get back on the right track for that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please share your thoughts below. That is it for this video, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!